Hey, yo, everybody. It's Willfully Evolving Woman, and this is Sarah. Going to do something a little different today. We're going to talk about the astrological weather, mostly because we are on the precipice of a pretty serious change. Um, let's do my best not to talk in too much jargon, but I will say this. If you do follow any astrology accounts, you more than likely have heard that Saturn has moved into Aries recently as of February 13th, depending on your time zone. We've got a lot of closing cycles occurring this month, and why this is important. If you are a willfully evolving woman, if you are a man who is wanting to make peace with your feminine side and bring into balance your masculine and feminine dynamics from within, this information will serve you very well. It will serve you in your ability to develop more objectivity and sanity, a better relationship with yourself, and thus a better relationship with the outer world and all of the beings in the outer world. Your ability to navigate trials and tribulations and notice opportunities will be boosted. Opportunities that are perfect just for you and your path of becoming. But I will be focusing mostly on women today because women really do have the power to change the world. And to what end? To promote beauty and harmony, or to promote pestilence and rot. And you know what? Maybe rot is not such a bad thing. But if you and your loved ones are suffering, it benefits you to develop the ability to see reality more clearly so that you can make wiser decisions. And this whole Saturn and Aries transit, the big thing about it, what makes it important is Saturn speaks to who it is that we are becoming. If we're going to look at it from an evolutionary perspective, there's a lot of other ways we can look at it, but I want to empower you by helping you learn how to connect to these archetypes from within and thus in the outer world. Saturn correlates to the process of maturation, the process of building integrity. It also, on the other side, it can be very hypocritical. It can be tyrannical. It can be rigid. It can be, not willing to grow. And so with Saturn, there's a suppleness that needs to be developed, but also a strength. Like I said, that integrity. Integrity based on what, though? For a person, for an individual, for a willfully evolving woman, that integrity is going to be based on what your soul and spirit and ego self want to become as a unit in this vessel that you have incarnated into this body, into this life. So Saturn will bring up real world challenges, limitations, burdens that must be faced with sincerity to grow based on what your heart intelligence is telling you, the inner child, your conscience. But this can be very difficult because Saturn also correlates with things like the superego. It correlates with rules and restrictions and the structure of systems in the outer world. And those outer world structures have been proven to be incredibly rife with malignant structural codes, we'll just say, for lack of a better term at the moment. So, growing in integrity with who it is you are can be quite challenging if you're not connected to the inner self. So, this Saturn in Aries, this momentum that's moving forward, we're coming to the culmination of a lot of cycles, and new cycles are beginning this month. As I said, we have cycles as old as 6,000 years coming to an end as of February 20th of this year. So that we got that new beginning happening with the new moon eclipse. That's the 17th, blah, 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 astro jargon, 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 jargon. Point being is that there's a lot of masculine energy that's going to be opening up for us over the course of this year, especially, and that's going to be lasting for some time to come. And the imperative with this as women is, how are we using that masculine energy? Are we using that masculine energy rightly? Are we using it based on the dictates of what our spirit and soul require to come together in union in our body and create a happy family with the ego, the soul, and the spirit? Right? Um, are we using that masculine energy rightly to promote well-being and harmony and beauty in the world? Aries energy is very impulsive. It has a strong desire to want to break into its own direction so that it can start establishing its own path. And this can be fraught with challenges in a world like this. And some of these challenges are necessary to prove our strength, to prove our tenacity, to prove our resolve, and even our dedication to the direction we're trying to go in. So there can also be a fear associated with this energy, a fear of being courageous enough to do the right thing, to do things rightly with a capital R. This means right conduct, right work, right thinking, right speaking, conducting ourselves conscientiously. Do we have the courage to do that? It might sound like, oh, no, no, totally. I have the courage to be conscientious. I'm conscientious all the time. But are you? Where are those times that you sell yourself short, or you prostitute yourself, or you even use others in ways that are not honorable or virtuous? Masculine energy is synonymous with things like honor and virtue. But Aries energy is an energy that isn't thinking. It's the impulse that brings life force into physicality. So it has a task to perform that doesn't have the experiential wisdom to be self-critical yet. It doesn't develop that until around the Virgo phase, which is a few signs away from there. It's more about the impulse to act. But of course, we're not an island. We have many archetypes within us. We develop wisdom over time throughout the course of our life, through trial and error and the feedback we receive from the environment and other people. What the challenge with this is remember, Saturn wants us to grow in integrity to who we are. And with the culmination of so many cycles ending, and now this brand new beginning, Aries is synonymous with spring, the brand new beginning. We may be feeling an impulse to go in a certain direction. We may be feeling anger. We may be feeling resentment if we're feeling confined. And like I said, there can be fear, but regardless, there's this instinctual impulse that's wanting to come through us. And depending on how repressed or dissociated we are, that will play out in a number of ways. This is why it's so important, especially for women, to be in our body. The more we can be in our body, the better we can navigate this vessel, this body, our nervous system, and the faculties connected to that, like our cognitive processing and our perceptive faculties, our intuition, and our conscience. This is a time where, as you can also see, there's a lot of confusion in the media, there's a lot of confusion in narratives, and evolutionarily, it seems that this is occurring in such a way where the opportunity that exists is to find our own path, to trust our own navigational system. With so much noise in the world, the cacophony of other people's opinions of what you should do, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, how you should conduct yourself, it can get very confusing. And yet there are basic guidelines that are based in natural laws that are immutable, that are like timeless. They don't change, right? That can help us tune into how to behave conscientiously based on the effects of our actions, the karma we set in place, and the subsequent effects. What kind of world do you want to see? What do you want to grow? How is a woman best using their masculine energy to conduct themselves? Now, this is the cipher that confuses a lot of women, I would assume for a variety of reasons, but one of which is definitely cultural conditioning to condition women to use their masculine energy like men would, which is not natural to us. As a blanket statement, because of course women are going to have a variety of energies in them, and some will be more fiery than others. But even that fire through a woman is to be wielded in a feminine way. How that's expressed, this is where we listen to our heart and our conscience. This is where we develop that relationship by getting in our body. And part of that process, especially right now with certain things in the weather, that, like just the Jupiter Cancer retrograde, Uranus being at the end of Taurus, like just as some examples for anyone who does know that language, and even the Pisces energy in the sky right now, the Virgo South Node, Lucifer and Virgo. We must feel always, but especially now, we have a momentum to help us use that Aries energy wisely, because in the true sky and the true constellations, Aries is actually in Pisces right now. If we use that energy rightly and wisely to do that, we must be emotionally intelligent. We must be somatically intelligent. We must have enough of a good relationship with our body that we can be in it, no matter how uncomfortable it feels or how irritating it feels, and even how pleasant it feels. Can we still be centered in our witness point at that 0 point? That it's not about gritting our teeth through pain, and it's not about avoiding pleasure. It's about being able to be present with what shows up in our body, no matter what we're feeling, good or bad, so that we can see clearly how we're navigating. If we're too much in pleasant feelings and not really in the body, we can actually navigate away from our path, away from our lane, away from the best iteration of our destiny and becoming process, because we're floating into a dream world. We're kind of veering off to the left, so to speak. But if we're too much rigid in self-flagellation and like masochism or any of these really like just dense, like overly controlling energies, then we become so rigid that it's hard for life to spring forth from us in ourselves and in our conduct towards others. So there's a balance and a harmony that we are moving into. And with Aries energy, the opposite polarity is Libra. So part of this process with Saturn, we can learn a lot. And this is where the courage needs to come in. We can learn a lot through the feedback we get from the outer world. Doesn't mean we have to listen to everyone's opinion, but if we pay attention to what feedback we get back, and then filter that against our own conscience, our own sense of right and wrong, our own sense of how it is that we are to become and how it is that we are to express, that data can be really useful to help us to grow in self-reliance and courage, and even in a sense of self-worth and belief in our purpose, the fact that we have a purpose, and that purpose is us becoming who it is we truly are. So this is a process of discovery. So many people have come to me over the years saying, what's my purpose? As if it's a word or a title, because that's how we've been conditioned to be. And yet Saturn wants to start a new cycle. And so does Neptune. And like that, Saturn and Neptune are like, we could say spirit and matter, and matter being Saturn and Neptune being spirit, right? Coming together in a whole new cycle after 6,000 years. The momentum to move forward is so strong, but it can be foreboding. Can we really be the truth of who we are, the truth of our spirit, so that we can feed our soul the most nutritious and life engendering fruits, so that our body can flourish, and so that our purpose feels exactly like what it's supposed to be, that we are becoming more and more sane, more and more healthy, more and more appreciative of who we are, more and more clear seeing as far as how best to proceed. For women, this is going to involve things like proper conduct with regard to humility, but also courage in ways that might not necessarily be getting out the club and beating people over the head, but having the courage to actually be in emotional control, so that an alchemical process of transmutation and sublimation can occur, so that the wisdom to know how best to proceed can arise. What a challenge with Aries energy that just wants to do the thing. But can you do the thing in the moment and be the crucible for something greater to come forth, a greater wisdom, a greater awareness of how to interact with the reality and other people so that beauty is the result rather than violence or control or manipulation or vampirism. Far too long, women have been taught to be anti-life. But now we have an opportunity that is opening up for all humans. But for women, this is an especially auspicious opportunity for us to become truly biophilous, life engendering, and beautiful. To use masculine energy in elegant ways. What a challenge, because it is so much easier just to take the club and beat someone over the head. It is so much easier to control and coerce and manipulate and lay down ultimatums and to, use other feminine violent tactics such as exclusion and cancellation and the silent treatment or just mean-spiritedness, nastiness. It's so much easier, right? It's so much easier to destroy than it is to create. And yet Aries is the energy of creation. And when it's in Saturn, there's an imperative to create. So what will you create? What do you want to create? Who do you want to become? How can you exemplify beauty? These are questions that only you can answer. But it most certainly helps to get a lucid answer if we're aware of the basics of natural law and proper conduct. So anyway, I'm going to leave it here for now. I may do more videos like this. I don't know. It just felt very important to put this message out with all of these new cycles beginning and all of these old cycles coming to an end. And, I'm not a perfect person. I certainly don't want to come across that way. I've had a very challenging path too, had to face a lot of temptation, a lot of demons. And I know it's not easy to be courageous. I know it's not easy to face malignant elements of our psyche and how we treat other people. I know this all too well. And it's because I was willing, and still am willing to look at that in myself, that I'm able to grow. And I must say, it is worth it. The more we can look at the pain that can be associated with realizing, hey, I'm actually necrophilous. Hey, I'm actually parasitic. Hey, I'm actually causing harm. If we can feel that and accept the truth, because our body's trying to tell us, hey, that's not right. If we can accept that, then we build our relationship with our body. We build trust in our intuition, and our intuition becomes more accurate. It's not something we can force, but we must be courageous as women because we do have the power to inspire men. We have the power to be that space for men so that they can grow even stronger and do good in ways that we benefit from too. And we can also use our own masculine power to become what it is we came here to be. We can do so much good. But as women, there's a darkness. And it's not that the dark is bad, because it's not. But there's a malignance in that darkness that we as a gender not only have the power to, but even the imperative to go into and face, because it's our realm. And for us to rule that realm, to sublimate that realm, to grow within that realm beauty and spirit, bring spirit into that realm, to inseminate spirit into that darkness, we must be brave. We must be courageous. And I wish you so much fortune in that endeavor. I wish myself fortune in that endeavor. And may you make the best of this cycle that is now unfolding.